According to the results of today's Telegram poll, I've decided to record a short video explaining the main points in a business plan part 2, and actually using a particular example that is also given on Moodle. In the first one, I'd like to start with the Porter's 5. So I think in a Porter's 5, you have to absolutely make sure that you're very specific. So I think the most common mistake in Porter's 5 is that people used to be very generic, and they keep using the same words for several forces, like switching costs are low. It can be both applicable to buyer power, to the supplier power, and whatsoever. So you need to be very specific in this particular case. So as I've given you an example in this particular case, for example, these guys, the cattle breeding business, they have a huge competition. So therefore, the force imposed on their business by a strong competition implies a strong force on them. The supplier power in this particular case is given as weak force, and the reason is because there are lots of suppliers. There are lots of suppliers out there which they can choose from. The buyer power is about to what extent the buyers, the customers, can actually switch from you to another competitor. And in this particular case, although there are lots of customers, however, it's fairly easy to switch. So therefore, it balances out in kind of a moderate force. Now, the threat of new entry is about barriers to enter your business. And in this particular case, high barriers to enter your business, which obviously needs a lot of capital expenditures, a lot of staff to be involved, and other things that make it really difficult to enter your business. Therefore, the threat of new entry in this particular cattle breeding business is a weak force. Now, the threat of substitutes. Now, you should not confuse between substitutes and competition. Now, when we say that someone is competitor, that means that they're actually trying to get away your customer, and they're offering something very similar, if not same. Okay. However, in the case of substitute, this is completely different thing. Now, in a cattle breeding business, there are lots of alternatives available. That's why this particular force is considered to be a strong force, because there are lots of things available out there. Okay, and you're not the only one. So therefore, in this particular case, it's going to be considered as strong force. Okay, let's move on. Now, the target market, mass or niche, it actually specifies. Okay, so in this particular case, I think this is a mass market, because almost everyone eats meat and consumes dairy products, milk, for example. Okay, yeah, so there is a minor mistake here. Now, in B part, I think this part is the most confusing, is the most difficult part, and I'd like to pay attention a lot to this particular one. Now, this particular question has several things. It asks for several things at the same time. Now, the market size is the overall volume of the whole market. Now, market consists of your company and other competitors which are providing the same products. So the market means you and competitors. Okay, so your company will have some revenue, your competitors will have some revenue. When you sum them up, this is going to represent the market size, the overall volume, the total revenue of all market players in this particular region in 1 year. Now, the second question is about market share. So market share is a certain portion of your company taking place in the whole market size. So market size is usually measured, well, in absolute values, in tenge or in dollars. The market share usually is measured in percentage. So say that the market size is 1 billion. If you are generating 100 million tenge of revenue per year, then that's going to be 10% of you occupying the market size. Okay. Now, yeah, it's also obviously calculated in tenge first, and then you calculate it in percentage. You can use the secondary market research with referencing. So if you find any data, please make sure that you reference it. Otherwise, it's not clear whether you made it up or not. If not, then you may actually apply primary market research. Now, what if the data is not available out there? What if it's not available? In this case, a proxy or guesstimate method is applied. Now, what does it mean? Let me give you a very simple example. Although it's not given here, I'm going to give you a very simple example. Now, let's say that, let's take a beauty salon, okay, in Astana. Now, you don't have any, let's say that you couldn't find any information about the beauty salon's revenues in 1 year in Astana. Now, what do? But you could probably find out a revenue for one particular company in Astana, and then you can actually try to find out the number of beauty salons in Astana. Well, you can use Tugis, for example, Tugis, and then just say, well, we will make an assumption due to the lack of data. We'll make an assumption that our company represents the average company, and the market size will be, if there are, say, 100 beauty salons out there in a market, then you're going to just multiply that company's revenue by 100, and then you'll say that this is our market size. Okay, well, I hope that it's clear. Now, market size, well, revenue, as we all know, revenue is equal to volume times price, so price times volume. Now, therefore, if you, for example, couldn't find a revenue for that particular company, then obviously the price is something that is open source. Okay. You may also try to find out the number of people visiting this place, and then you can figure out what's the average revenue per day, then per week, then per month, and per year. Okay. So if you can show the common sense, if you can show a solid a logic here following this rule, price times quantity, then that needs to be fine. That should be fine. Okay. Well, obviously, these people, they are producing, they're actually presenting some data, but they never use it, which is pity, because why are you presenting it if you're not using it? Okay, market growth, it's about how market size has been increasing or decreasing, has been shrinking or expanding over the time. So if it was like last year, if it was 1 billion, now it's 1.1 billion. Therefore, the increase with respect to the previous year is going to be 10%. Okay, so that's what is asked. Make sure that you also give it in percentage. The value proposition is something that we have continuously discussed, so I don't want to really talk about that too much in this case. Yeah, just make sure that there is a fit between gains and gain creators. Make sure that the customer's pains are met and the pain relievers. And also, if you say something, if you state something as a customer job, then make sure that in your products and services, not just meat, leather, and milk, which is not good, by the way. They didn't do a very good job in this particular case. I think you need to address those things. So placing an order for the necessary products. Well, I don't know. Maybe you'll do it via a call center. Maybe you'll do it via a website or app. I don't know. So product check. So think about those actions that needs to be taken by a company, okay, to make the jobs of your customers easier, more convenient, and faster, and whatever. Okay. Good. Yeah, 4P, I think this particular case is exemplary, so you can refer to the product price in this particular case. However, I'd like to mention that these guys are saying that distribution channel number 1, whatever that means, you have to specify what you actually mean. Okay, you have to be specific. Guys, the more information you give, the more specific information you give, the better. Don't avoid generic, ambiguous information. In the promotion, in their particular case, I would suggest to I don't know, to look at other promotional tools. So I think in their particular case, OLX and Zattoo will be the most appropriate ones. Okay, uniqueness is something that makes you unique and different from your competitors. Okay, if everyone is doing and you're doing it and you're replicating it, it's not unique, it's just the same. So uniqueness is uniqueness. Okay, now I think they could do a lot more better job, a lot better job in this particular case, because it's not clear which is which. Now you state the current strengths and weaknesses of your company, and then threats and opportunities are actually based on strengths and weaknesses. So your opportunities would be based on your current strength. So if you're good something, if you're good at something, okay, now that means this creates an opportunity in future. This might be your competitive advantage. But if something you have as a weakness and as a disadvantage nowadays, this may actually cause a threat in future. So threats are based on your current weaknesses and opportunities are based on your current strength. Now, external environment. Corporate social responsibility and CSV are different things. You may or may not use both of them. That's why I'm saying and or, okay? But make sure that you do distinguish between them and do not mess up, okay? So revisit the slides, the videos explaining that. Yeah, and the last one is the business model. So yeah, pay attention to the slide that we've given you in a lecture slide with the questions in a business model canvas. So we've put some questions in a PPT slides. So make sure that you meet them, you respond to these kind of questions. To customer segments, what kind of segments of customers do you have? You need to mention them. Yeah, all people, although they're saying all people, yeah, it's fairly broad and mass market. Maybe, yeah, it's all people. However, if you have a niche product or niche service, and you need to be very careful about highlighting different segments. Now, the customer relationship is about how and when and where do you build relationship with your customer. So if you have a call center, that's going to be your customer relationship. If you meet them online, then that particular platform is going to be your customer relationship example. If you meet them offline in your office, then that's going to be another way to build a relationship with your customer. Channels of sales. It's very specific. Channels of sales. How and where do you sell your products? By means of what channels? Is it online? Is it offline? Is it via, I don't know, retailers, whatever? Okay, so you need to distinguish them. Value proposition is what we've just mentioned already. Key activities. What do you do mainly? So what's your main activity? Okay. Now the key partners, those, it can be suppliers, it can be anyone who help you to perform your key activities. Key resources are those resources that you need to carry out your key activities. Cost structure, make sure to differentiate your fixed costs and variable costs. And obviously in your revenue streams, make sure to show different streams of your revenue if you do have several of them. Okay.